Edwin Analytics includes school readiness reports that provide information on students' participation in state or publicly funded early education programs. The data in these reports can inform you of students' experiences before kindergarten and up through third grade. Click each of the on-screen questions to learn more about these reports. The impact of early education dosage on early elementary performance report, identified as SR 313, compares aggregate performance in grades kindergarten through grade 3 to the amount of early education services students received. A student's early education dosage is defined by the attendance rate of a student in early education based on his or her eligibility. SR 513, the Early Education Experiences Report, details all state or publicly funded early education experiences of students currently assigned to a K through 3 public classroom and general information pertaining to their early education placements. Both reports are available only for SIF-enabled districts. You can explore both of these reports, or you can just jump to the one you want to learn the most about. Hover over the report names for a brief description of each, or click the name to learn more about what's in the report. The impact of early education dosage on early elementary performance report focuses on students who received early education in a variety of state or publicly funded settings. The report includes several summary aggregations for comparison, as well as comparisons to all students in the state, all students in the district, all students in the district with any state or publicly funded early education experience, and all students in the selected school with a selected early education experience. The student population in the report includes students enrolled at the end of the year in the selected primary grade who previously attended a state or publicly supported early education program for at least 6 cumulative months. When looking at the prompt page, you will find multiple filters that will help narrow down the data displayed in the report. The top half of the page contains required filters that must be selected to run the report. They include school year, district, schools within district, and grade level kindergarten to third grade. When selecting a school filter, you have the option of choosing more than one school within the district. The bottom section of the prompt screen provides for optional student group filtering. This includes selecting filters for students' early education experience. The filters contain options for program type, age of initial placement, whether the placement was subsidized, student special needs, and Department of Children and Families referral. The second column of optional filters includes student demographic information and student subgroup information. Information contained in a report is based upon the grade level selected. When looking at a report for the impact of early education dosage on early elementary performance, you will notice the school or schools selected at the top of the page. In addition, you will see the grade level selected across the top of the header. Below the grade level, the report is divided into 4 sections: Summary of Support, Indicators, MCAS ELA, and MCAS Mathematics. MCAS data are shown in this report, as grade 3 was the selected grade level. Students do not complete MCAS assessments in kindergarten through 2nd grade, so if one of those years is selected, MCAS data will not appear in the report. In the Summary of Support section, data are reported on the percentage of students with a disability receiving services, the percentage of students receiving continued services, and the percentage of students receiving accommodations under Section 504. Continued services indicates the student received services while in early education and was identified as a student with disabilities in the selected school year. For this example report, the reporting year is 3rd grade in the 2013-2014 school year. The next section, Indicators, reports the percentage of students who were retained as well as suspended, both in and out of school. Finally, the last 2 sections report MCAS results in both ELA and mathematics. The data include the percentage of students in the advanced, proficient, needs improvement, and warning failing categories, as well as the average CPI score. The data shown in this report also provide comparison to state and district groups, which are identified in the left column. The comparison data includes selected students in the state, selected students in the district, selected students in any early education program, and selected students in selected early education programs. Also included in the bottom of the report are attendance data. These data report the attendance rate based on the number of days students were eligible to attend early education programs. Click on the Page Down link located on the bottom of the report page for additional information about the report and the data. The information located on this page will be helpful in understanding the information represented in the report. The Early Education Experiences of Current Students report allows schools and districts to view the early learning experiences of individual students currently enrolled in classes of specific teachers. This report provides information on early educational placements, attendance, and other information about students' preschool experience if they attended state or publicly funded programs. The prompt page for this report requires users to filter district, school, and classroom data. It will default to your district and school, and if you are a teacher, to your name, as you only have access to the records of students you are responsible for. For school or district leaders with teacher-level access, the Classroom drop-down menu includes all classes being taught at that school in every content area. These users may select one or more classrooms for investigation, in which case a separate report will be printed for each classroom. There are additional fields at the bottom of the prompt page to narrow down the search. This includes early education experiences and elementary information, such as ethnicity and subgroup data. These are optional fields and are not required to run the report. After selecting your filters, you will get a report for each individual classroom selected on the prompts page. The top of the report will show the school name, teacher name, content, and grade level selected. In addition, the report provides the total number of students in the class and the number of students that met the selected criteria as part of the filtering process. Due to the student-level information in this report, the information should be accessed and shared with caution. Follow guidelines established in your district according to FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. In general, the only individuals who should use this report are those with direct educational responsibility for the students represented in the report. Across the header of the report, you will see the report divided into 3 areas: Student, Early Education Program, and Students Program Placement. The Students section provides the name of every student in the classroom who met the criteria. Included in this section is the student's State-Assigned Student Identifier, or SASID number. In the next section, you will see the program name, program type, and city or town location. The early education information found in this section depicts the student's public preschool placement. Program type refers to the program's licensing designation. The final section provides data on the type of program, full or part-time, age group, start and end date, attendance rate, number of days eligible for the program, EEC special needs, ESE reported special education placement, and Pre-K Section 504. The bottom of the report provides detailed information about the data depicted on this page. This section is helpful to clarify the report and the selected fields for a deeper understanding. Now that you know what's in these reports, click a report name to learn how to use it. The intent of the SR 313 report is to analyze the effectiveness of early education dosages on student success in the early grades. These data may be important to special education program directors who measure the impact of programs and services to meet their students' educational goals. This effect is measured in kindergarten through 3rd grade. As an administrator, this report may be very helpful when making programmatic and placement decisions. When looking at data found in this report, it is helpful to develop a list of guiding questions based on your school or district's goals to guide you through the inquiry process. Here are some questions that you may find helpful to begin with, but individualizing your own questions will be the most helpful in gaining insight into your students' performance. Let's dig into the data to analyze how 3rd grade students with disabilities who attended public preschools are performing on the MCAS assessments. For this report, we selected our district, included all schools, and chose the optional filters for public preschools and students with disabilities. Once all the filters are selected, click the Submit button to view the report. Remember, if you do not choose all the required filters, the Submit button will not be activated. When looking at the first section of the report, the data show that there are 83 students in grade 3 throughout the district who were identified with disabilities. There are 39 students who attended an early education program, and 32 students who attended the selected program for a public preschool. Although this may seem like a small number of students to investigate, it is important to note that these students have spent at least 4.5 years in public school, which includes public preschool. To assess their progress after this period of time would be beneficial to ensure the programs and services they are receiving are effectively addressing their learning needs. When moving across to the indicators section, it is clear that some of the students have struggled with behavior, as seen in the amount of suspensions. Of the group that has attended any early education program, 8% of the 39 students have been suspended, either in or out of school. Of the group that has attended the public preschool, 3% were suspended out of school. This difference is notable and may warrant further investigation. Have there been additional behavioral supports put in place in the selected early education program students attended that may not have been available to students in other early education settings? Has there been an effort to work with public preschool programs on behavioral programs that have been deemed effective? Let's continue to analyze other data in this report focused on MCAS results. When looking at MCAS ELA data, it shows that there are no students within this group that are advanced, and only 3% that are proficient. In addition, there are 42% in need of improvement, and 55% of students classified as warning or failing. The percentage of students at the warning or failing level is slightly higher than the district, but substantially higher than the state average. At the state level, 34% of 3rd grade students with disabilities are in the warning or failing category. That is a difference of more than 20 percentage points. These data also warrant more in-depth analysis. One data point that may be helpful to analyze at a deeper level are the dosages that students received while in the preschool program. For example, do students who have a smaller number of days eligible in early education, or who have a poor attendance record, perform at a lower level than students who have higher attendance or more eligible days within the program? These data may help to determine whether the early education dosage is appropriate for students with a variety of learning needs. Other questions for further investigation may include, are there reading programs or supports being used throughout the state that are showing promise in early education programs? Why are the students selected in this category struggling? Is the preschool program's curricula aligned with the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks in a given content area? Do students need more exposure to language and literacy-rich instructional opportunities? Are there significant differences in their disability levels compared with other students throughout the state? Is this a pattern that has been seen over time? These questions will require additional data analysis, but may uncover the root cause to the lack of student progress. Let's see if we see the same pattern on MCAS mathematics data. When looking at the MCAS math data, we see that 20% of students attending a public preschool are advanced or proficient. Those results are slightly higher by only 1 percentage point than students attending all other elementary early education programs, and 4 percentage points lower than other third-grade students with a disability throughout the district. There are 39% of students reported in the needs improvement category, and 42% in the warning or failing. Although these percentages are higher than at the district or state level, the students in the selected public preschool early education programs show a stronger CPI score than other early education programs, and are only 2.6 points lower than other students with disabilities within the district. However, it is clear that the students within the selected schools and programs are not performing as well as other students with disabilities throughout the state. Similar to the ELA data, it is important to dig deeper and gather more data to determine programs, processes, and policies that may need to be addressed to improve student outcomes. Remember, this is only one data point, and it is important to use multiple measures before making decisions that impact programs and supports. For example, you may want to run these same reports for different schools in the district, or for different years, to see if these findings form a pattern. The intent of the SR 513 report is to provide teachers and school leaders with information about the early learning experiences that their students have had to inform their instruction and student supports. Although there are no achievement data displayed here, there are other applications for the data. When looking at data found in this report, it is helpful to develop a list of guiding questions based on your school or district's goals to guide you through the inquiry process. Here are some questions that you may find helpful to begin, but individualizing your own questions will be the most helpful in gaining insight into your students' performance. Let's dig into the data to answer a guiding question. As a school administrator, you may want to know what preschool programs your students attended before entering kindergarten, which may provide insight as to the curriculum and supports they have received for early literacy instruction in their program. Since students with high needs are especially at a higher risk to struggle with acquiring reading skills, it is important to identify those students to ensure instructional programs are in place to support their reading acquisition. These data may support decisions that are made at the school level. To determine the data which will answer this guiding question, we will run a report for all kindergarten language arts classrooms in the school. In addition, we will select the High Needs filter under the Elementary Information optional filters. When you look at the report, you will see the data for all students meeting the criteria selected, with each classroom reported separately. Use the page down link at the bottom of the page to see the results in all 4 classrooms. To quickly and more efficiently analyze all data, you may want to view the report in Excel. This will allow you to filter and combine the reports. To easily open up the report in Excel, click on the icon in the top right corner of the report. You will see links for opening up the report in different formats. View Excel options to open up the file. Your spreadsheet will open up on a separate page. When looking at the spreadsheet, you will notice that all the same data found in the report is located here. Notice the tabs at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Each tab will open up a new classroom report. This feature allows you to easily copy data from one spreadsheet to another, providing an option for combining data to easily answer your guiding question. By combining all 4 classrooms' data, it is clear that the majority of high-needs students entering kindergarten have attended a public preschool within the district. However, there are 9 students in kindergarten who attended 1 or more preschool programs that were not part of the district programs. Those data may be helpful to share with the classroom teachers and support personnel. Moreover, looking deeper into attendance or mobility rates may provide some insight into other supports students may need to be successful. In addition, it may be helpful to reach out to those early education programs to gather information regarding their early literacy program. As students are assessed in reading throughout the year, teachers will have more data to identify additional supports the identified students may need. When thinking about next steps, it is important to note that the indicators listed in this report are part of the Early Warning Indicators system in Edwin, which is available for students in grades 1 through 12. Using the EWIS reports may provide you with additional information to identify students at risk of not meeting key outcomes for their grade. The 4 reports shown on the screen will help you dig deeper into the data. PR 600, the Student Profile Report, may also be helpful because it provides a comprehensive single-page summary for each selected student, displaying their demographic information, academic history, history of school attendance, and MCAS performance. In addition, school and district-level data, such as universal screening or reading benchmark data, may also provide you with insight as to student performance and interventions being used before the first MCAS assessment in grade 3. Moreover, you may also want to examine curricular programs and supports in place within your district and in early education programs that feed into your public schools to ensure alignment. The more data you have available, the higher the probability you will find strategies to support the success of all students.